Hello, Earth and Space students. This week we are learning about oceans. This shouldn't come as a surprise to you, but we will not learn everything there possibly is to know about oceans in the few days that we have. We're just barely going to get our feet wet in this subject. But there are a lot of good resources that if you find yourself interested in, that you can follow up on. That NOAA website, NOAA, or National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration website, is remarkable in terms of what it has available for as resources. So videos and links that you can use to kind of continue exploring the oceans. If you have any interest at all in doing that, I'm going to keep the page links on Canvas open, and you can always go to the chapter resources and use oceans links to kind of keep on exploring. So here's what we're going to do this week. We are looking at the first issue, or the first thing we're going to cover, is the water planet. That's this video. And then the next video we'll talk about life in the oceans. And the last video we'll talk about ocean currents. On this one, the water planet, most of Earth's surface is underwater, making Earth unique among the planets in our solar system. So no other planet has the water in the quantity that we do here. Actually, in Earth and space science, if we were going to really divide up the class and spend the time on the most important things in class, there should be a lot more time spent on oceans. The state of Missouri doesn't require that I tell you anything about oceans, but really most of the planet is covered with water. So we should be spending a good part of time on the oceans. I know a little bit about them. This is the part of the subject that I'm least familiar with, but I am looking forward to continuing to learn more about it, and I hope you are too. Here's a quote from a guy named Robert Ballard, who was the person who discovered the sunken Titanic and has helped explore that. He's lamenting the fact that we are not spending the time and energy to further continue exploring the oceans, but we're exploring space rather, or other things instead. Here's his quote: "Why are we not looking at moving out onto the sea? Why do we have programs to build a habitation on Mars, and we have programs to look at colonizing the moon, but we do not have a program looking at how we colonize our own planet, and the technology is at hand?" He feels like we could be exploring just colonizing the ocean, and that would be readily available. We're not having to wait until we get access to Mars or the moon to be able to send out human colonies. Okay, here are the learning objectives for this unit. The first is to name the major divisions of the global ocean. The second is describe how oceanographers study the ocean. And the third is explain how sonar works. Those are the three goals for the day. The first is, the first is the divisions of the global ocean. So the global ocean just means all of the oceans on Earth's surface considered together. It's not like there are really divisions between them. There's no firm line between the Indian Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean, or the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. So we have just kind of referred to the whole thing as a global ocean. But in smaller terms, we've divided that up into smaller bite-sized chunks. So first of all would be so the whole thing is the global ocean, but in terms of size, which is biggest, which is smallest, the next biggest, or the largest, would be the Pacific Ocean, here on the east coast of Asia and Australia, and the west coast of North and South America is the Pacific Ocean, the biggest ocean. Next biggest ocean is the Atlantic, which lies between North America and South America, and Africa and Europe. It's the Atlantic Ocean. The third biggest is the Indian Ocean, here in this arch that's made between Southern Asia and Africa and Australia. These three, the Pacific, Atlantic, and Indian, are sometimes called the major oceans. The other two are much smaller. Southern Ocean circles around Antarctica. This used to be called the Antarctic Ocean, but people are moving toward calling that the Southern Ocean. And then the smallest ocean of all is the Arctic Ocean, which circles around the North Pole. Alrighty. Now, next issue. How do oceanographers study the ocean. There are two ways that they do that. The first is through the use of sonar. Two ways oceanographers explore the ocean. The first is through the use of sonar. That involves floating a boat across the surface and bouncing sound waves down off the ocean floor. So these high-frequency sound waves bounce off the ocean floor and echo back to the boat. The time it takes for them to travel tells you how far away the ocean floor is. So if the bounce is short, you know that the ocean floor is relatively close here, and it's a high point in the ocean, like over here. This is a high point. And if it takes a long time for the sound waves to bounce back, then you know that ocean is very, very deep. And you can do pretty detailed mapping with sonar. The second method is through submersibles. Here's what submersibles look like. It's just some little tiny submarine. That little tiny submarine could have people in it, it would be manned, or it could have no people in it, it would be unmanned. And those submersibles just explore either connected to like a ship that's above, so there's some ship that's holding this thing in place that's off picture, and this submersible could be connected to the ship, and the ship could actually help lower it and raise it, or and it could supply life support systems through access here through the ship, or it could be entirely cut off and just fly, sail around here remotely, all on its own. But that is the second way that oceanographers study the ocean. So here are, again, the learning objectives for this video. Name the 5 major divisions of the global ocean: the Pacific, the Atlantic, the Indian, the Southern, and the Arctic oceans are those 5. Describe how oceanographers study the ocean. They have 2 ways. They can use sonar or they can use submersibles. And explain how sonar works. It works just like dolphins use sound waves to detect their prey, or whales use sound waves to detect their prey or to detect the ocean floor itself. Oceanographers use sound waves that bounce through the ocean, and they measure the time it takes for that signal to return. Okay, that's the first hurdle in this study of the oceans. My last word for you is go be awesome.